Good morning, Lit students. So today's the final lesson in our series, Big Picture. And as I was thinking about all the things that we've been talking about and learning, I was just kind of thinking about how life is like this giant cosmic puzzle. Whenever you get a puzzle box, you empty out the contents. And one of the things that you'll notice is that there are a bunch of weird shaped pieces. For example, you look at this piece right here, and you see a bunch of weird ridges and edges and curves and turns and just things that don't really make sense. Like, this shape is not logical. Sometimes our life is like that. It just doesn't make sense. It's not logical to us. Sometimes it's an event that happens to us or to a friend, or something that has happened in history that doesn't fit our picture as to how things ought to be. Or maybe it's something about us. It's something about the way you look or think or feel or act that just doesn't seem right. It seems off and it makes you feel out of place. The thing that I want you guys to remember is that no matter how off something seems or appears to us or feels to us, God knows exactly how that thing is going to fit into his big picture. Now, this is something that, ultimately should give us a sense of comfort, because we realize that nothing that happens to us or nothing about this life is a surprise to him. In Isaiah 46, 9 through 10, we read and it says, "Remember the things I have done in the past, for I alone am God. I am God, and there is none like me. Only I can tell you the future before it happens. Everything I plan will come to pass, for I do whatever I wish." And so what we're seeing in this passage is, first of all, God knows the future. And if he knows the future, then he also knows the present, and he knows exactly how the present fits into the future. But not only that, but this passage teaches us that he is ultimately in control of how the present fits into the future. But then we read in Romans 8:28, and it says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." And so what we're seeing here is this combined understanding that God is ultimately in control of the present and the future, but he also wills good things for those who love him. And he will cause anything that happens in our lives, even if it feels awkward or painful at the time, he will cause that thing to work for our ultimate benefit if we love him through that thing and we're living for his purposes. Another thing that I want you guys to remember is kind of like, you see how these puzzles have all these misshapen pieces, but it's these misshapen pieces that are put together to reveal a bigger, more beautiful picture. In the same way, God has used those awkward or misshapen or things that don't make sense to us. He uses those things to reveal something bigger and better about himself. And that should bring us a sense of comfort also, because what that means is he does have a purpose for everything that happens in life, but he also has a purpose for us. In 1 Corinthians 1:27 through 29, it says, "God chose things in the world considers foolish in order to shame those who think they are wise. He chose things that are powerless to shame those who are powerful. God chose things despised by the world, things counted as nothing at all, and used them to bring to nothing what the world considers important. As a result, no one can ever boast in the presence of God." So for us in our lives, no matter how awkward or weird we feel, God has a plan for us and will use us to reveal something bigger and better about himself, both to us and to the world. And the final thing that I want you guys to remember is that, like puzzles, we don't always see exactly how a particular piece is going to fit into the big picture. But what we do see is that there is a big picture. And in the case of this puzzle, it's Baby Yoda. In the same kind of a way, we don't always see exactly how our lives or parts of our lives are going to fit into God's bigger picture. But what he has done is he's shown us that there is a bigger picture, and that's what we read about through Scripture. Now, this is supposed to be a thing that gives us a sense of motivation and encouragement to keep on persevering. And whenever we think about Jesus and the example that he set for us, we see how he looked at the bigger picture to be able to get through moments of his own life. For example, like being able to bear the cross. In Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, it says, "Let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne." And then later on in that same chapter, in verse 28, it says, "Since we are receiving a kingdom that is unshakable, let us be thankful and please God by worshiping him with holy fear and awe." So what we see is the example of Christ. When he was facing the cross and having to bear that, rather than just looking at that one piece and part of his life, he looked at the bigger picture and he recognized the joy that he would have by being able to endure the cross. And through that one part of his life, he saw that he was going to be able to redeem all mankind. He was going to be able to restore all things back to himself. And so that was the joy that was set before him. And seeing that bigger picture, he was able to disregard the shame of that moment, the pain of the cross, for that bigger picture. So we're supposed to be doing the same kind of a thing. We see that there is a kingdom that God's establishing, and we are heirs of the kingdom through Christ. And so what we're called to do is not focus on just the little individual pieces and parts of our lives, but look forward to that bigger picture, to what we are going to receive through Christ and the victory that we have through him. And that's going to be the thing that gives us motivation to be able to persevere in our lives and in faith in God. So I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson that we just had, and that this series has really been a benefit to you guys. I just have a couple announcements I want to give you. So the test results came back and I am cleared. So we are going to have youth group again this evening at 4:30. It's going to be at the church in the bottom lot. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. Make sure that you RSVP. And then the Sunday following this Sunday is going to actually be the church picnic. So rather than having youth group at 4:30, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to meet up at North Park. We're going to hang out and do youth group during the church picnic. So I look forward to seeing you guys then. Make sure that you RSVP, and make sure to let your parents know, or remind your parents to RSVP for North Park if they plan on going. So anyhow, I'll see you guys then, and I hope you have a great Sunday.